Sometimes the best love stories aren't about finding someone perfect. They're about finding someone perfect for you. Today's story is different from the usual heartbreak tales we hear. This is about finding real love in Phuket, Thailand. And yes, it actually worked out. If you enjoy these stories, hit that subscribe button and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. My name is Marcus, and my story begins in the most unlikely place, rock bottom. I'm originally from Canada, but life had other plans for me. After my business failed in 2016, and my long-term girlfriend left me for someone with a better bank account, I found myself at 34 years old with nothing but debt and broken dreams. My friends kept telling me the same thing. You need to get away, man. Clear your head. That's how I ended up booking a one-way ticket to Phuket in early 2017. I had enough savings for maybe 3 months if I lived cheap. The plan was simple: figure out my life while sitting on a beach instead of crying into my pillow back home. I'll never forget stepping off that plane in Phuket. The humid air hit me like a warm hug I desperately needed. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. I found a small apartment in Kata Beach, nothing fancy, just a studio with a balcony overlooking the street. The rent was 8,000 baht a month, which was perfect for my tight budget. The first 2 weeks were exactly what you'd expect. I did the tourist thing, visited temples, ate street food, got sunburned on the beach. But honestly, I was still miserable. I was running from my problems, not solving them. Then something shifted. Maybe it was the third week when I realized I hadn't thought about my ex-girlfriend in 2 whole days. Or maybe it was when I started having actual conversations with locals instead of just ordering food. I remember sitting at a small cafe in Old Town Phuket, watching the sunset paint, the sky orange and pink. An elderly Thai man at the next table smiled at me and said in broken English, "You look sad, but Thailand make you happy. You see?" Little did I know how right he would be. By my 4th week in Phuket, I was starting to feel human again. I'd established a routine: morning coffee at the same cafe, afternoon work on my laptop trying to rebuild my consulting business, evening walks along the beach. But the loneliness was still there, especially in the evenings when couples walked hand in hand past my apartment. That's when I decided to try something I'd never done before: online dating. Back home, I'd always met people through friends or work, but here, I was a stranger in paradise. I downloaded a popular dating app and spent way too long crafting my profile. Canadian guy exploring Thailand, looking for genuine connections. Simple, honest. The first few matches led nowhere. Conversations that died after hello, or girls who seemed more interested in my passport than my personality. Then I saw her profile. Her name was Amara, a 29-year-old nurse from Phuket. What caught my attention wasn't just that she was beautiful, though she absolutely was, but her profile description: love hiking, good food and deep conversations. Not interested in games or drama. Her photos showed her at various spots around Phuket I'd been to: the Big Buddha, Kata Viewpoint, Sunday Walking Street. She wasn't posing for Instagram. She looked genuinely happy and natural. I spent 20 minutes writing and rewriting a message. Finally, I went simple. "Hi Amara, I noticed you love hiking. I've been exploring Phuket for a month now. Any hidden trails you'd recommend to a curious Canadian?" I hit send and immediately regretted it. Too casual? Too boring? 3 hours later, my phone buzzed. "Hi Marcus, welcome to Phuket. There's a beautiful trail behind Kata Temple most tourists never find. The view at the top is incredible, especially at sunset. Have you been to the temple yet?" And just like that, we started talking. What started as hiking recommendations quickly became something deeper. We texted for hours every day, sharing everything from our favorite foods to our biggest fears. I learned that Amara worked at Phuket International Hospital, specializing in emergency care. She'd been single for 8 months after ending a 2-year relationship with a Thai guy who wanted her to quit her job and become a housewife. "I love helping people," she told me during one of our late-night conversations. "My job is hard, but when I save someone's life or help them feel better, it makes everything worth it." She learned that I was trying to rebuild my life after losing everything. Instead of judging me, she said something that made my heart skip. Sometimes we have to lose everything to find what really matters. After a week of constant texting, she sent me a message that changed everything. Would you like to meet for coffee tomorrow? I know a quiet place in Old Town. I stared at that message for 10 minutes before responding, I'd love to. But I was terrified. What if she didn't like me in person? What if I was building this up in my head? What if this was just another disappointment in a year full of them? Here's what I didn't know. Sometimes the universe has perfect timing, even when we can't see it. I changed clothes 3 times before our coffee date. Nothing felt right, too formal, too casual. Finally, I settled on a simple button-down shirt and jeans. The cafe she chose was tucked away in a small alley in Old Town, the kind of place only locals knew about. I arrived 10 minutes early, my palms sweating despite the air conditioning. Then, I saw her walking toward the cafe and my breath caught in my throat. Her photos didn't do her justice. She was wearing a simple sundress and had her hair in a loose ponytail. But it wasn't just her looks. There was something about the way she carried herself, confident but not arrogant, that drew me in. She spotted me through the window and waved, with a smile that made my nervousness disappear instantly. "Marcus," she said as she entered the cafe. Her English was excellent, with just a hint of an accent that made everything she said sound musical. "Amara, wow, it's so good to finally meet you in person." We found a quiet corner table, and what I thought would be an awkward first meeting turned into the most natural conversation I'd had in years. She told me about growing up in Phuket, how she'd watched it transform from a quiet island to a tourist destination. I shared stories about Canada, about the snow and mountains she'd never seen. "I've always wanted to see snow," she said, her eyes lighting up. "Is it really as beautiful as in the movies?" "More beautiful," I told her, "but also colder than you can imagine." She laughed. "I think I prefer our warm weather here." 2 hours flew by like minutes. When she had to leave for her evening shift at the hospital, I found myself not wanting the day to end. "Would you like to do this again?" I asked, trying to sound casual despite my racing heart. "I'd love to," she said, "but next time let me show you that hiking trail I mentioned. Are you free Saturday morning?" I would have cancelled anything to be free Saturday morning. Saturday morning came with perfect weather, sunny but not too hot, with a gentle breeze coming off the Andaman Sea. Amara picked me up at 7 a.m. on her motorcycle, an extra helmet in her hand. "Ready for an adventure?" she asked with a grin. The trail behind Kata Temple was everything she'd promised and more. It was challenging enough to be interesting, but not so difficult that we couldn't talk as we climbed. As we hiked, I learned more about her family. Her parents owned a small restaurant in Phuket town, and she had a younger brother studying engineering in Bangkok. "They worry about me being single," she admitted as we paused to catch our breath. "Thai parents, you know. They think 29 is too old to not be married." "And what do you think?" I asked. She was quiet for a moment, looking out at the jungle around us. "I think life isn't about timing. It's about finding the right person when you're both ready." When we reached the summit, the view took my breath away. All of Phuket spread out below us, the beaches, the mountains, the city. But honestly, I was more focused on the woman standing beside me. "It's incredible," I said. "Yes," she replied. But when I looked over, she was looking at me, not the view. That's when I knew this was more than just a casual friendship. We spent the rest of the morning on that mountain, talking about everything and nothing. She told me about her dreams of traveling the world, and I found myself wanting to be part of those dreams. When we finally headed back down, she stopped suddenly and turned to me. "Marcus, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why did you really come to Thailand?" I mean the real reason. I could have given her the simple answer about needing a break. Instead, I found myself telling her everything. The failed business, the heartbreak, the feeling that I'd lost myself completely. "I came here to run away," I admitted. "But talking to you, being with you, for the first time in a year, I feel like I'm running towards something instead." She was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached out and took my hand. "Sometimes we have to get lost to find our way home," she said softly. That's when I realized I might be falling in love with this amazing woman. After that hiking trip, Amara and I started seeing each other almost every day. Her schedule at the hospital was unpredictable, but we made it work. On her days off, she'd show me hidden corners of Phuket that tourists never see. Secret beaches, local markets, family-run restaurants where the owners knew her by name. On my free evenings, I'd pick her up after her shifts and we'd grab late-night street food or just walk along the beach talking about our dreams. My 3-month visa was approaching its end, but the thought of leaving felt impossible. For the first time since arriving in Thailand, I wasn't thinking about what I'd lost back home. I was thinking about what I was building here. I need to do a visa run soon, I told her one evening as we sat on Kata Beach watching the sunset. Where will you go? She asked, and I could hear something in her voice. Worry, maybe? Probably Malaysia for a few days. Standard tourist stuff. She was quiet for a moment. And then you'll come back? If you want me to. She turned to look at me, her eyes serious. Marcus, we need to talk about what this is. What we're doing. My heart started racing. Was this where she told me this was just a fun vacation fling for her? I care about you, she continued. More than I expected to, but I need to know. Are you here because you're running from something, or because you want to be here? It was a fair question. A month ago, I might not have known the answer. But, sitting there with her, watching the sun set over the Andaman Sea, I was absolutely certain. I'm here because of you, I told her. Everything else, the business, the ex-girlfriend, the mess I left behind, none of that matters anymore. You matter. She smiled then, the first real smile I'd seen from her all evening. Good, she said, because I was starting to fall for you, and I was afraid you might disappear one day. I'm not going anywhere, I promised, and I meant it. 2 weeks after my visa run to Malaysia, Amara suggested something that made my palms sweat. Would you like to have dinner with my parents? In Thai culture, meeting the parents is serious business. It means the relationship is getting real, with real expectations and real consequences. Are you sure? I asked. We've only been together for 2 months. My parents have been asking about you, she said. I talk about you too much, apparently. Her parents' restaurant was a small family-run place in Phuket town, the kind of authentic, local spot that doesn't appear in guidebooks. When we arrived, I was greeted by a woman who looked like an older version of Amara and a man with kind eyes who spoke very little English. Dinner was a mix of incredible food and careful conversation. Amara's mother, Kun Siriporn, spoke decent English and asked me gentle but probing questions about my family, my work, my intentions with her daughter. Her father, Kun Somchai, mostly smiled and kept refilling my beer, occasionally asking Amara to translate something for him. He likes you, Amara whispered to me during a lull in conversation. He says you have good eyes. After dinner, Kun Siriporn pulled me aside while Amara was helping her father in the kitchen. My daughter is special, she said seriously. She works hard, has a good heart. Many Thai men don't understand her. They want her to be quiet, stay, home. But she needs someone who supports her dreams. I support her completely, I told her. She's the strongest person I know. Kun Siriporn studied my face for a moment, then nodded. Good. She is happy with you. I can see it. As we were leaving, Kun Somchai said something to Amara in Thai that made her blush. What did he say? I asked as we walked to her motorcycle. He said you should stay in Thailand, that you belong here now. Looking back, that night was when I realized this wasn't just a relationship anymore. It was becoming a life. Month 4. I had established a routine in Phuket that felt like home. My consulting business was picking up with international clients, and I was making enough money to support myself comfortably. More importantly, I was happier than I'd been. In years, Amara and I had settled into an easy rhythm. She'd sleep at my apartment on her days off. I'd pick her up from work when I could, and we'd spend our weekends exploring the island or just enjoying each other's company. Then, everything changed. On a Tuesday morning in July, I was working on my laptop at our usual cafe when my phone rang. It was Amara calling during her shift, which she never did. Marcus, her voice was shaky. I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen carefully. My heart dropped. What's wrong? Are you okay? I'm okay, but there's been an accident. A tourist, a young woman from Australia. She was in a motorcycle crash and she's not going to make it. I could hear the pain in her voice. Amara took her job seriously, and losing a patient, especially someone young, always hit her hard. I'm so sorry, baby. Do you want me to come get you after your shift? That's not why I'm calling. She took a deep breath. Marcus, she was alone. No family here, no friends. She's going to die alone in a foreign country, and I can't stop thinking. What if that was me? What if something happened to me and you were the only person who cared? I wasn't sure where this was going, but I could hear the emotion in her voice. She asked me to call someone for her, Amara continued. Her boyfriend, back in Australia. And when I told him what happened, do you know what he said? What? He said, we broke up 3 months ago. Why are you calling me? And then he hung up. I felt a chill run down my spine. Marcus, I realized something today. Life is so fragile. We could waste years waiting for the perfect moment, or we could choose to be happy now, to build something real while we have the chance. Amara, what are you saying? I'm saying I love you, she said quietly. I know it's too soon. I know we haven't been together very long, but I love you. And I needed you to know that. I sat there in the cafe, people bustling around me, and felt my world shift completely. I love you too, I said, and meant it more than I'd ever meant anything in my life. That phone call changed everything. It was the moment we both realized we weren't just dating anymore. We were building a future together. 6 months later, I knew I wanted to marry Amara. It wasn't a gradual realization. It was as clear and sudden as a lightning strike. We were having breakfast at her parents' restaurant on a Sunday morning. Amara was working a late shift that day, so we were enjoying a lazy morning together. She was telling me about a patient she'd helped save the day before, a little boy who'd nearly drowned at the beach. His mother couldn't stop crying when he opened his eyes, she said, her own eyes bright with joy. She kept saying thank you in English over and over. Moments like that, that's why I do what I do. I watched her talk about her work, her passion evident in every word, and it hit me. I wanted to support this woman's dreams for the rest of my life. I wanted to be there for every victory, every heartbreak, every moment in between. The problem was the ring. I didn't have my mother's ring like some fairy tale story. I didn't have family heirlooms or a romantic backstory. What I had was a modest budget and a jewelry store in Phuket town that I'd been nervously visiting for weeks. I finally settled on a simple solitaire diamond, nothing flashy, but beautiful in its simplicity. Just like Amara, I planned to propose at the spot where we'd had our first real conversation, the mountain trail behind Keita Temple. It seemed perfect, meaningful, private, with a view that took your breath away. But life had other plans. 2 weeks. Before I planned to propose, Amara's grandmother in Chiang Mai fell seriously ill. Amara needed to take emergency leave from the hospital to help care for her. I might be gone for 2 weeks, maybe more, she told me, tears in her eyes. I'm sorry, Marcus, I know we had plans. Don't apologize, I told her. Family comes first, always. She left on a Wednesday morning, and I spent the next week missing her terribly and second-guessing my proposal plan. Maybe I should wait until she got back and things settled down. Maybe this wasn't the right time. Then she called me on Saturday night, crying. She's gone, Amara said through her tears. Grandma passed away this afternoon. Peacefully, but I can't believe she's gone. I'm so sorry, baby. Do you want me to come up there? No. The funeral is in 3 days, and then I'll come home. I just needed to hear your voice. We talked for an hour that night. She told me stories about her grandmother, how she'd raised Amara's mother and always had a smile for everyone, how she'd been asking about me, wanting to meet the foreign man who'd made her granddaughter so happy. She wanted to meet you, Amara said softly. She said anyone who could make me laugh like you do must be special. After we hung up, I made a decision. When Amara came home, I wasn't going to wait for the perfect moment on the perfect mountain. I was going to tell her I loved her and wanted to spend my life with her, because life was too short and too unpredictable to wait for perfect timing. Sometimes the most important decisions aren't about timing. They're about courage. Amara returned from Chiang Mai on a Thursday afternoon, exhausted and emotionally drained. I picked her up from the airport and took her straight to my apartment, where I'd prepared her favorite Thai soup and had flowers waiting. "Thank you," she said, collapsing onto my couch. "I missed you so much." "I missed you too. How are you holding up?" "Better now that I'm here with you." She leaned against me, and I could feel the tension leaving her body. Grandma's funeral was beautiful. The whole village came. She would have loved it. We spent the evening quietly, just holding each other. I had the ring in my bedside drawer, but this wasn't the moment. She needed time to grieve, to process. Over the next few days, I watched Amara slowly return to herself. She went back to work, threw herself into helping her patients, and gradually, her smile came back. The following Sunday, we were at our usual breakfast spot, her parents' restaurant. Kun Siriporn brought us extra fruit and asked about Amara's grandmother. It was a normal, comfortable morning with people who'd become like family to me. After breakfast, we walked to the small park nearby. Amara was telling me about her first day back at work, how good it felt to be helping people again. "You know what Grandma told me before she died?" she said, sitting on a bench under a large tree. "She said the secret to happiness isn't finding the perfect life. It's finding the right person to share an imperfect life with." I looked at this incredible woman, nurse, daughter, granddaughter, the person who'd helped me find myself again, and I knew I couldn't wait another day. "Amara," I said, getting up from the bench. "Yes?" I dropped to one knee right there in the small park, pulled out the ring and said the words I'd been practicing for weeks. "I love you more than I knew it was possible to love someone. You've made me a better man, and you've made Thailand feel like home. Will you marry me?" For a moment she just stared at me, her hand over her mouth, then tears started streaming down her face. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, of course, yes." I slipped a ring onto her finger with shaking hands, and she threw her arms around me. When we finally broke apart, I realized we had an audience. Several people in the park were clapping and cheering. "I can't believe you just did that," she said, laughing and crying at the same time. "I couldn't wait anymore," I told her. "Life's too short, and I want to spend every day of it with you." That simple question in a simple park changed everything. Not because of the location or the ring, but because of the love behind it. Planning a wedding in Thailand as a foreigner is complicated. There's paperwork, translations, embassy visits, and a dozen government offices that all need different documents. But Amara and Ikul, I had something more important than perfect planning. We had families who wanted to help. Kun Siriporn threw herself into wedding preparations with the enthusiasm of someone planning her own daughter's celebration. She knew every vendor, every temple, every detail that would make our day special. "Western ceremony or Thai ceremony?" she asked us one evening over dinner. Amara and I looked at each other. "We'd talked about this already." "Both," I said. "If that's possible." Kun Siriporn beamed. "Of course it's possible. We do small Thai ceremony first for family and spirits, then bigger celebration for everyone. My parents flew in from Canada 2 weeks before the wedding. I was nervous about them meeting Amara's family. The language barrier, the cultural differences, the fact that I was marrying someone they'd only heard about in phone calls. Those fears disappeared within hours of their arrival. My mother and Kun Siriporn bonded over wedding planning, despite speaking different languages. They communicated through gestures, smiles, and Amara's translations, but somehow understood each other perfectly. My father and Kun Somchai found common ground over beer and fishing. They spent an entire afternoon on a local fishing boat catching, almost nothing but laughing like old friends. "She's wonderful," my mother told me one evening, "and she loves you completely. I can see it in the way she looks at you. Are you sure about this?" My father asked more directly. "It's a big step, son. Different country, different culture. I've never been more sure of anything in my life," I told him, and I meant it. The Thai ceremony was held at a small temple near Amara's parents' house. It was intimate, spiritual, and unlike anything I'd experienced. We made offerings to the spirits, received blessings from the monks, and had our hands bound together with sacred thread, while family members wished us happiness and prosperity. The Western-style celebration was held at a beautiful resort overlooking Patong Bay. We'd kept it small, about 50 people, mostly Amara's extended family, a few friends I'd made in Phuket, and my parents. During the reception, Amara's uncle stood up to make a toast. He spoke in Thai first, then switched to English for my benefit. "Marcus, when Amara first told us about you, we worried. Foreign man, different culture, maybe he leave when vacation over. But you stay. You learn our language, eat our food, respect our customs. You don't try to change Amara, you love her exactly as she is. This makes you not foreign anymore. This makes you family." I had to excuse myself for a moment after that toast. The acceptance, the warmth, the sense of belonging. It was everything I'd been looking for without even knowing it. That night, dancing with my new wife under the stars in Phuket, I realized I'd found something I never expected to find. Home. Marriage is different from dating, even when you've been together for over a year. There's a weight to it, a permanence that changes how you approach problems and decisions. Amara moved into my apartment, and we had to learn how to live together full-time. She was neat, I was messy. She liked to plan. I preferred spontaneity. She was naturally early, I was chronically 5 minutes late. But we also discovered beautiful compatibilities. We both loved quiet mornings with coffee and conversation. We both preferred staying in with a good movie to going out to bars. We both dreamed of traveling the world together someday. 6 months after our wedding, Amara was offered a promotion at the hospital, a supervisory role that would mean better pay, but more responsibility and longer hours. "I don't know if I should take it," she said one evening. "It would mean less time together, especially in our first year of marriage." "Take it," I told her without hesitation. "You've worked hard for this. I'll support you no matter what." "Are you sure? Some of the other nurses' husbands don't like them working so much." "I'm not other husbands," I said. "I fell in love with a woman who saves lives for a living. Why would I want you to be anything less than that?" She took the promotion, and I watched her flourish in the new role. She started leading training sessions for new nurses, implementing new protocols that improved patient care, and becoming the kind of leader the hospital needed. Meanwhile, my consulting business had grown to the point where I was working with clients across Southeast Asia. I was making more money than I had back in Canada, but more importantly, I was doing work I found meaningful. One evening, about 8 months after our wedding, we were having dinner at her parents' restaurant when Amara's phone rang. It was the hospital. "Emergency," she said, looking at the caller ID. "I have to take this." She stepped outside to take the call, and I chatted with Kun Siraporn while waiting for her to return. When Amara came back, her face was serious. "There's been a major accident," she said. "Multiple casualties. They need all senior staff to come in immediately." "Go," I said. "I'll get a taxi home." "Are you sure? We were supposed to watch that movie tonight." "Amara, people need you. The movie will still be there tomorrow." She kissed me quickly and left. I didn't see her again until the next afternoon. She'd worked through the night and most of the next day, helping coordinate care for 12 people injured in a bus accident. When she finally came home, exhausted and emotionally drained, she collapsed on the couch next to me. "We saved them all," she said quietly. "All 12, some of them. It was close, but we got them stabilized." I held her while she cried, from exhaustion, from relief, from the weight of holding other people's lives in her hands. "I'm proud of you," I told her. "So incredibly proud." "Thank you for understanding," she said, "for supporting this crazy job of mine." "It's not crazy. It's who you are, and I love who you are." That night, holding my exhausted wife, I understood that love isn't just about the good times. It's about showing up for each other when life gets difficult. Our second year of marriage brought new challenges and deeper joys. We'd settled into routines that worked for both of us, learned to navigate each other's moods and needs, and built something that felt unshakable. I finally took Amara to Canada to meet my extended family and see the snow she'd always dreamed about. Watching her experience her first snowfall in my hometown was like seeing winter through new eyes. "It's so quiet," she whispered as we walked through the snow-covered streets. "I didn't expect it to be so peaceful." "Different from Phuket?" I asked. "Different, but beautiful. I understand why you missed it. She charmed my entire family just as she'd charmed me. My grandmother, who rarely warmed to strangers, spent hours teaching Amara to make her famous apple pie. My cousins included her in their conversations, as if she'd always been part of the family. But what struck me most was watching Amara navigate a completely foreign culture with the same grace and openness she'd shown me in Thailand. She tried every Canadian food, asked questions about our customs, and embraced experiences that were completely outside her comfort zone. "Your family loves you so much," she said one night as we lay in my childhood bedroom. "I can see where you get your kind heart." "They love you too," I told her. "My mom told me today that she thinks I'm lucky to have found you." "I'm the lucky one," she said, curling up against me. "I get to love you and be loved by you. That's more than I ever expected to find." Back in Phuket, we started talking about our long-term plans. Where did we want to be in 5 years, 10 years? Did we want to stay in Thailand forever, or would we eventually move somewhere else? "I love Thailand," I told her, "but I want to be wherever you are. If you wanted to move to Canada or Australia or anywhere else, I'd go." "And I love that you're willing to go anywhere," she said. "But I think Phuket is home for both of us now. My work is here, our families are here, our life is here." She was right. Somewhere along the way, Thailand had stopped being the place I'd run to and had become the place I wanted to stay. We started making more permanent plans. We looked at houses to buy instead of renting apartments. We talked about Amara maybe starting her own clinic someday. We dreamed about taking trips together to all the places we'd never been. 2 years in, we weren't just married anymore. We were partners in the truest sense, building a life together that neither of us could have imagined alone. Every relationship faces tests. Ours came in our 3rd year of marriage, and it nearly broke us. It started with a phone call from my sister in Canada. My father had had a heart attack. He was stable, but he needed surgery, and the recovery would be long. "You need to come home," she said. "He's asking for you." I booked a flight for the next day. Amara couldn't come with me. She'd just started a new project at the hospital and couldn't take extended time off. "I'll be back in 2 weeks," I promised her. 3 at the most. 2 weeks turned into a month. My father's surgery went well, but complications during recovery meant he needed more support than we'd expected. My mother was overwhelmed. My sister was juggling her own family, and I was the only one with the flexibility to stay. Amara and I talked every day, but the distance was hard on both of us. She was dealing with increased responsibilities at work while missing her husband. I was stressed about my father's health while missing my wife. "I need you here," she said during one particularly difficult call. "Mrs. Chen in room 304 reminds me of your grandmother, and I keep thinking about what you'd say to comfort her family. The new nurse is struggling, and I wish I had your patience to help me train her properly. Everything reminds me that you're not here." "I need to be here too," I said, frustrated. "My father almost died, Amara. I can't just abandon my family." "I'm your family too," she said quietly. The silence that followed was the longest of our marriage. 3 weeks in, my father was doing much better but still needed daily help. My mother was managing well with the support of local services, but I felt guilty about leaving. That's when Amara made a decision that showed me who I'd really married. "I'm coming to Canada," she told me during our nightly call. "I've arranged for 2 weeks off. I want to help with your father, and I want to be with you. Amara, you don't have to do that. The hospital needs you, and the hospital will be fine for 2 weeks. You need me, and I need to be where you are. That's what marriage means." She arrived on a Tuesday morning, and I felt whole again for the first time in a month. But more than that, I watched her seamlessly integrate into helping care for my father. She used her nursing skills to monitor his recovery, her natural warmth to comfort my anxious mother, and her quiet strength to support our entire family. "She's remarkable," my father told me one afternoon while Amara was helping my mother with groceries. "I can see why you moved halfway around the world for her." "Actually, Dad, I think she moved halfway around the world for me this time." When we finally returned to Phuket together, we were different, stronger. We'd faced our first real test as a married couple and had come through it together. "I'm sorry I said you weren't here for me," Amara said on the plane back to Thailand. "I was scared and tired." And I took it out on you. I'm sorry I made you feel like you weren't my priority, I replied. You are. You always will be. We're going to face more things like this, she said. Life is unpredictable. But I want to face them together. Together, I agreed. That crisis taught us that love isn't just about the good times. It's about showing up for each other when everything falls apart. By our 4th anniversary, we'd settled into a rhythm that felt like the most natural thing in the world. We'd survived long-distance separation, family crises, career changes, and all the small daily negotiations that marriage requires. Amara had been promoted again and was now the head nurse for the emergency department. She'd implemented new training protocols that had reduced patient wait times by 30% and had been recognized by the provincial health ministry for her innovations. My consulting business had grown beyond what I'd ever imagined back in Canada. I was working with healthcare systems across Southeast Asia, helping hospitals improve their operations. Work that felt meaningful, partly because I'd learned so much about healthcare from watching Amara. We'd bought a small house in a quiet neighborhood, between Phuket town and the beaches. It had a garden where Amara grew herbs for cooking, and a small office where I could work without disturbing her when she needed to rest after long shifts. "Do you ever miss Canada?" she asked me one evening as we sat on our back porch watching the sunset. "I miss my family," I said, "but I don't miss living there. This is home now, even when it's 35 degrees and humid and the power goes out," she teased. "Especially then, because you're here complaining about the heat right next to me." She laughed and leaned against my shoulder. "I love our life." "Me too." It was a simple exchange, but it captured something important. We'd built something, real and lasting. Not perfect. We still had disagreements about money, got on each other's nerves when we were stressed, and had to work constantly to balance our demanding careers with our marriage. But it was ours. We'd created a life together that neither of us could have imagined alone. That year, we started talking seriously about having children. It wasn't an easy conversation. Amara was at the peak of her career, and my business required a lot of travel. The timing would never be perfect. "I want to have a family with you," she said one night. "But I'm scared. What if I'm not good at being a mother? What if I can't balance everything?" "You'll be an amazing mother," I told her. "You take care of people for a living. You'll figure it out. What if something goes wrong? What if we can't have children? Then we'll face that together too. We'll figure out what's next." 4 years in, we weren't just surviving marriage anymore. We were thriving in it, ready to take on whatever challenges came next. Life has a way of surprising you when you least expect it. For us, that surprise came in the form of a phone call from Amara's hospital on a busy Thursday afternoon. "Mrs. Amara," the voice on the other end, said when I answered her phone. She was in surgery. "There's been a situation. Can you ask her to call the pediatric unit immediately when she's available?" When Amara called back an hour later, she was quiet for a long time after hanging up. "What's wrong?" I asked. "There's a little girl at the hospital," she said slowly. "She's 3 years old. She was brought in 2 days ago after a motorcycle accident with her parents." I felt a chill. "Are her parents okay?" "No." Amara's voice was barely a whisper. "They both died on impact. She's an orphan now." I sat down heavily. "That's terrible. Does she have other family?" "That's the problem. Social services has been trying to find relatives, but there's no one. Her parents were from a small village in Isan, and apparently they were the last of their families. There's literally no one to take her. What happens to her now?" "She'll go into the state system. An orphanage, probably." "And Marcus?" Amara looked at me with tears in her eyes. "She's so scared. She keeps asking for her mama and papa, and no one can explain to her that they're not coming back." That night, Amara couldn't sleep. I'd wake up and find her staring at the ceiling, obviously thinking about the little girl. "Her name is Niran," she said during one of these midnight conversations. "It means eternal in Thai. She has these big, brown eyes, and when she smiles, Marcus, she's been through something terrible, but she still smiles." "You're thinking about her a lot," I said gently. "I can't stop thinking about her. I keep imagining her in some overcrowded orphanage, wondering why her parents abandoned her. She's too young to understand death." Over the next week, Amara visited Niran every day during her breaks. She'd bring small toys, read her stories, and slowly the little girl began to trust her. She called me Amara today, she told me one evening, using the Thai term for older sister. And she asked if I would take her home with me. What? Did you tell her? I told her I would if I could. Amara was quiet for a moment. Marcus, I know we just started talking about having children. I know this isn't what we planned, but... But? What if we could adopt her? What if we could give her a home? I looked at my wife, this incredible woman who spent her days saving lives and now wanted to save one more life in a completely different way. Are you sure? I asked. Adoption is permanent. It's a huge responsibility. I'm sure, she said without hesitation. I love her already, and I think maybe this is how we're supposed to become parents. Sometimes the family you're meant to have finds you in the most unexpected way. Adopting a child in Thailand as a foreign Thai couple involves mountains of paperwork, background checks, home visits, and bureaucratic processes that seem designed to test your determination. But Niran made it easy to stay determined. During the 3-month approval process, we were allowed supervised visits with her at the hospital and later at the temporary care facility where she was staying. Watching her slowly come out of her shell, seeing her laugh and play despite everything she'd been through, confirmed what Amara and I both knew. This little girl was supposed to be our daughter. She's resilient, the social worker told us during one of our interviews. Children often are more than adults, but she's also clearly bonded with you both. That's not something that happens often or easily. The day we were approved to take Niran home was one of the best days of my life. She was shy at first, clinging to Amara and eyeing me uncertainly. But by bedtime she was showing me her new room, which we'd spent weeks decorating, and asking if I would read her a story. Papa Marcus, she said as I tucked her in. It was the first time she'd called me Papa, and I had to excuse myself for a moment to compose myself. Becoming parents overnight was an adjustment that tested every aspect of our marriage. Suddenly our quiet dinners were interrupted by a 3-year-old's chatter. Our spontaneous weekend plans had to include considerations for nap times and playground visits. Our careful budget had to account for childcare, clothes, and toys, but the joy was overwhelming. Watching Niran discover our garden, teaching her to swim in the community pool, seeing her face light up when we read her favorite book for the 10th time, it filled our house with laughter and purpose. She's lucky to have found you two, my mother said during a video call 3 months after the adoption. Niran was on camera, proudly showing off a drawing she'd made of our family, 3 stick figures holding hands under a bright yellow sun. We're the lucky ones, Amara said, smoothing Niran's hair. She's taught us more about love than we ever knew. 6 months after bringing Niran home, we were at the beach for a family picnic. Niran was building sandcastles with intense concentration, while Amara and I watched from our beach chairs. Do you remember when you first came to Thailand? Amara asked me. You were so lost, so sad. I remember feeling like my life was over, I said, like I'd never be happy again. And now, I looked at our daughter, covered in sand and completely content. Then at my wife, who'd given me everything I never knew I wanted. Now I can't imagine any other life, I said. Sometimes the best things in life come when you're not looking for them. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find what really matters. Today marks our 7th wedding anniversary and 5 years since Niran became our daughter. As I write this, she's 8 years old, fluent in both Thai and English, and has just started taking swimming lessons at the local pool. Amara is now the youngest hospital department head in Phuket's history, leading a team of 30 nurses and implementing healthcare innovations that are being adopted across Thailand. She still comes home exhausted from difficult days, but she also comes home fulfilled, knowing she's making a difference. My consulting business has grown into a small company with 5 MMRAEs, all local Thai professionals who've become like family to us. We specialize in healthcare management systems, and I often joke that living with Amara has made me an expert in hospital operations. Our house is no longer quiet. Niran has friends over regularly, and our weekends are filled with school events, birthday parties, and family adventures around the island. We've traveled as a family to Canada twice, and Amara's parents have become Niran's devoted grandparents, spoiling her with the same love they show their biological grandchildren.